This program, proudly brought to you by Citibank, bringing the spirit of competition to personal banking, and Ansett, one of the world's great airlines.
This is 10 Eyewitness News with Sandra Sully.
Australian athletes welcomed as they get ready for an expected record assault on Commonwealth Games gold. Bob Hawke again under fire after another scathing attack on Paul Keating. And it's turning out to be Woodstock relived rather than revisited as music lovers live it up. Good evening. Australia's national anthem has rung out over Victoria, Canada for the first of what's expected to be a record number of times. As our Commonwealth Games athletes were officially welcomed to the Games complex, the tipping remained firm that they could win up to 70 gold medals. Most of our competitors and officials were in the athletes' village for the raising of the Australian flag.
Over the next 2 weeks, that's the anthem that's going to be heard more than any other. It's no idle boast. Our team is committed and hungry for gold medals. About 60 competitors and officials were present for the official flag-raising ceremony. Alongside them stood the athletes from Botswana and Norfolk Island. These 3 flags will fly with almost 70 others for the duration of the 15th Commonwealth Games. The swimming team was present in strength for the ceremony. Their confidence is growing with every day.
The village is really good and the pool is beautiful, and because we've been here since Monday, we're really settled in now.
Yeah, I've heard that the swimmers really like the pool. You're really happy with it?
Yeah, it's a gorgeous pool. It's really light and it's beautiful. Yeah.
These games are different in one respect. It's the first time disabled competitors have been included in the team proper, living and training as one unit.
Everything's going really well. Everyone's, switched on, very focused on what they want to do.
But while the Australians are pumped up and ready for action, the Canadians are trying a little morale-boosting hype of their own. The Canadian team of around 300 had assembled in Vancouver and crossed to Victoria by ferry. It was a move designed to bolster team spirit and give the public of British Columbia a chance to cheer them on. A crowd of several thousand gathered in front of the provincial parliament for a public welcome. The Canadian team managers assess their medal chances as third best, behind Australia and England. But regardless of the results, the pride the people of Victoria are taking in their national team and in hosting the Games is very evident. In Victoria, John Gatfield, 10 News.
Back home, and former Prime Minister Bob Hawke has again angered the Labor Party with a scathing attack on his successor, Paul Keating. Extracts of Mr Hawke's memoirs appeared in print for the first time today, provoking outrage from party members, but delight from the opposition.
At the victory dinner after Labor's last election win, the present and former Prime Ministers appeared to end their feud.
You can't have a 5th election victory without a 4th. And the bloke who gave it to us and his wife, Bob and Hazley, tonight, thanks for coming back.
But Mr Hawke has not been so forgiving. Today's serialisation of his memoirs, to be published in hardback on Tuesday, reveals a deep bitterness. About his rival, Mr Hawke says, Paul's performance was vainglorious and arrogant, disloyal and contemptuous of everyone on the political stage but himself. Party members are shocked. Young Labor has a petition calling on Mr Hawke to apologise and grow up.
Well, the ALP is built on the principle that you put your personal interest to one side for the good of the whole. And regretfully, it appears that Mr Hawke has abandoned that out of personal vindictiveness and probably for profit. One of the most startling claims that Mr Keating was prepared to sacrifice government just to take over the leadership. A story that was denied today by MP Gary Punch, even though Mr Hawke quotes him as a source of the allegation. In the memoirs, Mr Keating is accused of deliberately lying and is criticised relentlessly. His erratic behaviour, his remarks disingenuous, churlish and inaccurate, his deficiencies of judgment and character. The opposition was quick to exploit the damaging fight.
Hawke and Keating are like 2 mangy jackals clawing over the carcass of the ALP.
Revealing private conversations, Hawke claims Keating opposed our involvement in the Gulf War, saying, "What's the US ever done for us?" and of being contemptuous of Asia as just a place to fly over to get to Europe. So far, the Prime Minister has resisted the temptation to counterattack, his advisers describing the memoirs as transparently self-serving. Paul Smith, 10 News.
There are more unconfirmed reports tonight of a new ransom demand excuse me, for the 3 Western hostages held by Khmer Rouge rebels in Cambodia. It's believed the rebels have increased their demands to $320,000 for Australian David Wilson and his 2 companions. Allan Russell reports from Cambodia. News of the new demand came as a top military intelligence team began taking over negotiations for their release after a series of clashes between government troops and the rebels.
Less than 20 kilometres from the Khmer Rouge village where the 3 hostages are being held. And for the first time, the Cambodian government displays military hardware being used to maintain a stranglehold on the guerrilla base. 3 152 howitzers, 3 tanks, 2 rocket launchers aimed directly at the village in the distance. It was moved into place after a development Western diplomats feared, an outbreak of fighting between the warring groups. The army engaged the Khmer Rouge in 4 separate skirmishes. The biggest involved 100 troops and 20 to 30 guerrillas, less than 10 kilometres from where the hostages are being held. Deputy Regional Commander Brigadier General Meagher claims the Khmer Rouge instigated the fighting but came off second best.
1 was killed and 2 was wounded, and get some document from them.
Another clash brought the same result. 1 Khmer Rouge dead, 1 wounded. And the news from the Khmer Rouge village is not good. 7 sympathisers now in army custody claim Australian hostage David Wilson is very ill with the potentially fatal dengue fever. And 60 families are also claimed to have fled the village after being forced to make bamboo booby traps. Clearly concerned by all these latest developments, UN observers who describe the Army's heavy-duty hardware as antiquated but capable of delivering killing blows to the guerrillas' village. The Cambodian government is believed to have ordered a freeze on further troop build-ups in the region, hopefully a sign that negotiations are underway. In the meantime, a promise from the Army there will only be an attack if the hostages are harmed.
If they kill these hostages, the government will not forgive them anymore. They will have planned to attack, this for sure.
In southern Cambodia, Allan Russell, 10 News.
Still to come, international relief as the United States and North Korea agree to resume talks on nuclear weapons. And yet another effort to end the bloodshed in Bosnia.